What's up, gorgeous? I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to another episode of the Fierce Framework, where we talk about becoming fierce through messy action, baby steps, and cultivating confidence. I'm your host, Mary Beth. I'm a business coach with a dream to see more women pursuing their goals and the things that light them up and living life more on their own terms. This podcast is all about offering you inspiration and combining that with practical steps that you can take to become more of your full self in and outside of your business. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing you to my friend Shauna, who I met through a podcasting program, and we still keep in touch over a year later, encouraging and building each other up in our businesses as well as our personal lives. Shauna is a mindset coach, she's a healthcare worker, and a mother of three. She's a lover of the ocean, animals, sunshine, outdoor, family, and friends. Shauna has been working with mindset and mental health and wellness for over 12 years. She's also worked with a shaman for 7 of those years, and on top of that, her own studies. These have led her to becoming a certified life coach and opening her own business. Shauna coaches and encourages busy women to take time for themselves, build themselves up, and helps remind them of their goals and dreams. She provides encouragement to take the steps needed to get where they want to be. When she's not coaching or at the hospital, you'll find her with her 3 children on an epic camping or beach adventure or playing games on a game night. She loves making memories with her family and epic adventures with her friends. She is a ray of sunshine and just a ball of light, and I know that you're gonna love this interview. It, of course, is 2 parts because I always get carried away and love chatting with the friends that I bring onto the podcast. So, I hope you enjoy both episodes with my friend Shauna. I know you're going to get a lot out of it. Enjoy.
You said something about you only fail if you stop trying. Isn't
I
that
love
what
saying
you
that.
said it like last week? And I was like,
I
yes,
say it all
girl,
the
like
time.
you just keep doing the thing. You got to keep doing the things. When you stop trying, that's when you're like, I give up. That's when you're not doing anything
Yeah,
anymore.
literally.
Just trying something is getting information and you know where to go from there.
I love that you brought that up because that's basically what I was going to say is like there's so much stigma around like not following things through. And I think we build it up in our heads a lot too, like even more than necessarily like the people around us would. But yeah, when you try something and it doesn't work out, like that's not a failure. I love that you're labeling it and just like calling it out. That's more information, dude. And that's a normal part of life. Like, I don't understand why we act like that is so taboo and like you
Yeah.
failed and like it's the end of the world. It's like that's literally a normal part of life. People are doing it all the time. And so I love that you brought that up because now I want to hone in on it and talk about how it's part of the process and really like every little failure, as long as you keep going, it's part of the road to success because where are you going? And as long as you don't stop, you end up getting there. And so then the whole part of the past, all those failures, all those little like wrong turns, they were actually literally part of your path. So like who's to say they were wrong?
I love this. I love this so much. So, like, the question I always say is, what is failure? What is that?
Yeah,
What does that
yeah,
even mean? To me, I again hate that. Saying failure. It's like, what do you mean exactly? I mean, it could
yeah.
literally be, and I know some people are going to be like, oh my God, silver lining. But until you do it and you actively practice I used to be one of those people. I'm like, oh yeah, silver lining. Tell me the silver lining about, when like I'll bring up a situation that was really hard for me. I went through a divorce that was very hard for me. And
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh yeah, silver lining. What's the silver lining with this? Well, I can choose to think that way. I can choose to be like, there is no silver lining, doom and gloom, la la la. I failed
Mm-hmm.
my marriage and whatever. And I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you right now, can tell you right now, I worked my butt off. Okay. I worked my butt off, but there's 2 people that have to come and do it together, and you can't make somebody else do the things. Okay. So if
You
you
can't.
work your butt off and you keep going, and then there's a time where you have to make a decision where it's not for you anymore. And it doesn't have to be just for divorce. It could be anything. It could literally be a sport. It could be something you're learning in school. It could
Yeah.
be, something your career. You could literally be in school and you're like, this is not it.
Mm-hmm.
Please explain to me how that is failing. How is that failing? Because you received information that it is not for you is a freaking win.
Yeah. Sounds
Because
like
now
growth to
you're
me.
going you are going in a direction that is truer to you than you just were. So if you stay on that path because I just don't want to fail, I just don't want to do the thing, I can't, and you're like beating yourself up because your dragon's in there just eating it up, keeping you stuck there because
Yeah.
it's comfortable. Are you going to be happy? Or are you going to be friggin' miserable? Or you're going to wake up in 10 years and be like, "Ugh," and you're shooting all over yourself. I should have done this and I should have done
Mhm.
that. And then you regret and all that. No, thank you. No,
Yeah.
nope. If you know, you know. You know. You can choose to ignore it, or
You can.
you can listen to it and be like, oh, I kind of got to listen to this. And that doesn't mean you have to like take action and do all the things right away. You can
Right.
investigate it because the message is going to come back to you. Again, how
Mm.
I tell one of my clients that I work with now, and I'm like, oh, you're getting it now. Is this a piece of paper or is this a 2x4? How is the message coming to you? Is it coming to you lightly and telling you you need to change your path? Or is it slapping you and being like, you need to change your path? It's going to keep
Mhm.
coming up. So when you choose to listen or not. So that's why when it's like failure, I feel like that you can choose to look at it as you failed, or you can
Mhm.
choose to see it as information that is bringing you closer to what you want, what you truly want.
Yeah.
Because this is a hard no. And that is okay. That
So
is
good.
totally okay. And it's
Yeah.
very hard sometimes for people to be like, oh yeah, it's so easy. It's okay. It's not, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. We're lifing over here. It's not just rainbows and sunshine, or everybody would be flinging glitter around if it was easy. That's not how it is. It is hard. And you got to take the steps to get there, but being open to doing that and hearing yourself and not getting so don't talk shit to yourself anymore. How is that bettering
Yeah.
anything? Would you tell your best friend that's cool? No. You'd be like, listen, girl, we need to have a little chat,
Yeah.
and build them up. So
Mhm.
start building yourself up because you are in your head the most. No one else is there. No one else is there
All the
with
time.
you, right? Gotta work on that. Just work on that a little
I
bit.
love
It's
it.
gonna make things a lot easier. Get that
Truly.
failure word out of there. It's information. You are gathering information and deciding what to do next off of that. It's either a hell yes or it's a no. Either
Yeah.
one is fine. It's bringing you closer to what you truly want and what is truly meant for you.
Yes. And when you break it down like that, it's so clear that you're describing growth. You're describing learning. Like, and I think so often, like we just label things and we just, like, I already know what that is. But when you just explain it, you're taking information and then you're making a better decision based on that information. And you're using that to choose what your next step is. That's literally growth. That's literally learning. Like, there's no failure in that. Using
Yeah.
information is like how we get better in
Yes.
everything.
Yes. And I also believe that it's totally fine. I'm going to say it. It's totally fine to act like a toddler and be like, I don't want to, I don't want to do the thing. And then,
Yes.
you keep knowing if it's a no or a yes for you. And you're just like resistant. And it's okay to go through those times. I mean, we naturally do that anyway. So it's okay to go through the times, but do you want to hang out there? Are we going to hang out in that spot? Or
Right.
are we going to kind of go to a different one? You know?
You're allowed to throw a tantrum. I love
Yeah.
that.
I'm sorry, you can. You need to feel all the things. You need to feel the good and
Yes.
the bad. You need to feel all the things in order to be like, oh, your information comes to you, you're like, yeah, I was really triggered by that and totally resisted, not like, I don't want to do the thing. And then once you get through it, you're like, you can see how it made you better and how it made you
Yeah.
stronger. You're not going
Yeah.
to see it when you're feeling all that stuff.
Nope.
Gonna feel like crap. You're not gonna want to be there. You're gonna be like, me out of this. I don't even want you want to hurry up and get to the end. It's all part of the process. It's all part of the process. But looking back to where you came from, that's when you see the silver lining. That's when you
Yeah.
see, it doesn't
Yeah.
happen in the moment when you're like, where is it? Where is it? It might
Right.
not be there yet. It
Yeah.
might be there later.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good too, because I hate toxic positivity. On like to the extent that sometimes I hate positivity. I'm like the most negative person I know, and I love that about myself. Um, but like I think that's so important. You're like throw a tantrum. It's fine. Like you're allowed to feel shitty feelings and you're allowed to feel shitty about things. Like it's so much like we're supposed to like put our feelings, especially negative ones, like in this bottle and like throw it away and pretend it doesn't exist. And it's like, let yourself feel it. How else are you gonna know how you feel? And then I love what you said about the silver lining because like when you're in the shit and it's really hard and it really sucks, it's really hard and it really sucks.
Mhm,
And that's okay. Like, you don't
mhm,
have to pretend that it's not hard. You don't have to
mhm,
pretend that it's not shitty. Like,
mhm.
it fucking is.
Yeah,
You just have to keep going
yeah.
through it. And then eventually, right? And I love that you said, like, sometimes the silver lining isn't in that place. Sometimes the silver lining doesn't exist while you're going through that shitty spot. Sometimes you create the silver lining by getting through it and what you did and what support systems you leaned on and like who you reached out to and the survival mechanisms you put in place and like maybe that forced you to seek out therapy and like that's how you got better and that's your silver lining or maybe it pushed you to like dig deeper into yourself or redirect where you're going into life. Like I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. Like it's not the shitty thing that made you strong, it's how you handled it. And so you very well might be creating the silver lining based on how you are getting yourself through that shitty situation. And that's so fucking like you did that.
It's so good. I love this. This is so juicy. And yes, I'm like right behind you. Yeah, girl, I'm cheering you on. Yes. Yes.
I love it.
100%. 100%. And it's funny because, like you said, when you're in it, you're not. Please explain to me. If you are in a storm and the fog's in and it's raining and the wind, what do you see?
Right.
Nothing. You see
Right.
nothing. Okay, yeah, it's the same when you're in your storm of your emotions. It is the same. Do not expect to see anything. Feel the feels. Do not box them up and put them away in a closet because that's going to end badly. Let's feel the
It
feel.
does. I checked. It ends
But
badly.
I'm glad you're verifying that. But don't do that to yourself because
Right.
you're going to have to relive it again. You want to do it twice or you want to do it once, right? And then
Okay.
not getting stuck there because just like you said, how you handle it and how you take your steps, right? If it's too
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming, great, back it up. Back
Mm-hmm.
it up, right? If you are like, oh my God, I don't even want to go to work today, or you're having a lot of things or whatever, and you can't, and you need to take care of yourself, whatever, call out sick, take care of yourself. If you feel like you need to take a day in bed, that's fine. That's fine. That is totally fine.
Yes.
Don't beat yourself up about it because you might need that. You need to rest. Yeah, you might need to rest. You want to cry it out for 6 hours? You go right
Do
ahead.
it.
You need to phone a friend? Do that. But you need to figure out what you actually need to help you take those steps through the storm to
Mm.
make it easier when you do it. Don't get stuck in the storm, right? Don't get
Yeah.
stuck there because you still have to take the steps, like you said. Still take the steps regardless. And then later you can look back and then now you see if the process helped you through it, right?
Yeah.
That worked for me. Did that not work for me? What you can do like the next time, but then you actually can see what helped you out. Like I really love what you said, that it might not even be the bad thing. It could be deeper than that. And
Mm.
you working on, something deeper than that. I'll give you an example. Recently, because we all do this too, we have people that come in and out of our lives. And sometimes they're temporary people, sometimes they're long-term people. And sometimes when we really want them to stay and hang out with us for like a really long time, sometimes those people choose that that's not what they want and they quote unquote break up with you and
Yeah.
move along. And that may have been their path the whole time, but you didn't
Mm.
see it until you started going
Mm.
through the thing, right? Like they brought something to your life that either enhanced it or you learned something from it or they taught you something or whatever that you may not see because now you're going through this thing where you're like, this person's no longer in your life, but later you can see what it brought out for you. Like for me, I had a recent person that was in my life that suddenly was not. They did not pass away, but they suddenly were not in my life anymore. I was very confused,
Mm.
did not understand what was going on, but I didn't get to know. So, how do you work through that when you don't have an answer? Because your brain wants to make up all the answers, right? But you don't get to know. That's fine. Okay. Took me a
Yeah.
while to be okay with not knowing why.
Especially when they're still here. It's so
Yeah.
hard.
that I feel that's like in a way it can be torturous. I'm
It
not gonna lie, it can be totally
it
torturous.
can be worse in some ways, right? Because you're like,
Yes.
there's yeah. Anyway.
And if you don't have answers, right? Well, it brought up things on the inside for me that I had worked through before, but now it's a different level because I'm ready to work through it. And so it's like,
Ooh.
oh, that's there. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
what? And then now I'm all like shocked, like, great, it opened a can of worms I wasn't really ready for, but I was ready for it.
Mm.
But I was telling myself I wasn't ready for it because it felt like shit. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
you don't want to feel like shit, right? You don't want to.
No.
But now I see that I'm grateful for that person being in my life and me going through the breakup to now I have like I don't know what you want to say, like redefined that issue within myself to a different level.
Mm.
Like I've leveled up myself because
Mm.
I had that person in my life and the breakup and the check-in. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm looking at it as this person was in my life for me to do this.
That's amazing.
Whether or not I know that's true, I don't know, but I know that I'm a better person because of the process that I went through. And did it suck?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucked. But keep going, check in with myself. What can I do? How do I feel? What can I, and
Mhm.
paying attention to what's coming up for me because I'm journaling this out like a boss also
So proud of you. You're
to
doing so
figure
good.
it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's there's tools that can help you. There are things that can help you get through it.
I
Things can.
love that. And just like going through it, allowing yourself to face it. Because I know for me, I love avoiding, I love disassociating. And it's like, but that never, like, you're just staying in, like, it's basically what you were saying. It's you're staying in the storm. You're choosing to stay in the storm then. And you're choosing to just like live in this like confusion and this cloud, and it's like you're not confused, you're just refusing to face it. You can face it and see how you feel, journal it out, like actually feel your feelings and work through what's going on and get out of the storm. Like you can start getting out of the storm pretty much at any time. But it's like we love just like staying like I don't know, like I'm just so stuck and confused, and it's like what if you like al- allowed yourself to face the issue though? Like what if you like took a step through the issue instead of just being like, ah, and you're like, actually, what is this? Like, what are we doing?
Mhm.
And like that's a realization that I've had like a few times now, and it's just like, oh yeah, if I'm feeling overwhelmed or anxious or like, why? What is
Mhm.
going on? Like, what if we just like chose to dig into this instead of being like, no, I can't, it's too scary.
Which is your dragon.
Your dragon. That's why you gotta
You
name it.
can't do that. Don't go in there. Don't go to
Yeah.
no, don't do it. Don't go in there. And
Yes.
like, you can be like, okay, I'm not going in there. I'm not going in there, just like you said. And then now you're just stuck in the storm because you're not going in there.
Right.
Or your dragon can be like, just put in this little box. We're gonna put it over
Hmm.
there because we
Yeah.
don't want to feel that.
Right. That'll
So
go
you can
away.
bring it out later and be like, oh, we're gonna do this 2 times instead of one. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. I love
Thank you.
it. Speaking of doing
Okay.
things multiple times, I also loved how you talked about like where you had thought you'd worked through stuff and you had, but you were like at the next level. And that is so powerful because I feel like it ties back to failure. Because I've seen that in myself, like, I thought I did this. Like, I thought I learned that lesson. I thought I graduated from that. And then you feel like a failure because you're like, why am I doing this again? Like, I thought I was better than that. And so I love how you explained it. And you're like, it's not that you hadn't worked through it, it's that now you're addressing it at another level. And one of the visuals I love is like sometimes it can feel like you're just walking around in circles. But if you can look at it from a bird's eye view, like you're leveling up because life is cyclical. Like life is seasonal and it's cyclical. Like you do go around like faces similar things a lot of the time. But I think what we don't often see is that you're leveling up every time. It's like a spiral. It's not a circle where you're doing the same thing over and over.
I
So
love that. I think of it as a video game, which is really funny. Like,
Gamify your life. I
you
love
know what I
it.
mean though? But like if it's kind of like a video game, like you're on level one, you're learning like what is this monster I have to beat and like all of this and what is the path I'm taking? And then like if you die in the video game, it's like there's an actual name for this. It's like the Super Mario Brother effect or something like that, where you take one path and you keep getting killed by this little Goomba.
Yeah.
You're not going to take that path the next time. You're going to try a new way. And you're
Right.
still going to get to the end, but it's not going to be this. You've learned where all the things are,
Hmm.
to get there. So you're gathering information to get to the end. You're trying
Hmm.
again. You're not just turning the game off, right? And then once you beat that level, like once you beat that like inner turmoil, now you're on level two, where now
Yeah.
you're taking that information to the next level. And now you might have new guys that come up where you're like, oh, what's this one? I got to learn about this. And then there's a new path, and then there's a new way. And
Mhm.
now there's spinny things. And you're like, what's happening? But you're still going through it and jumping over it,
Yeah.
and, doing all the stuff because you're gathering it along the way, and you still get to the end, and then you go to another level and you learn more things. So when you go through something like that and you have worked on it,
Hmm.
now you have the knowledge and you have the strength to go deeper with it, to then
Hmm.
open it up. Eventually you can work through it, but sometimes it's multi-layered. I mean,
Yeah.
look at how many layers we have as humans.
So many.
There's so we're like an onion. You know how many
Yeah.
layers on an onion? Like forever layers. It's like that.
Forever. I love that so much. And I think I'm just gonna start like using video game terminology in my life. Hey, so we're always talking about our dreams and making progress towards our goals on this podcast. But what if you don't know where to start, right? Maybe you're so full of amazing ideas that you have a hard time narrowing it down and picking something to start with. Or maybe after years of not having a say, you don't even know what you like or what you want anymore. Either way, I got you. Okay. I created a free course that's just for you. It's a 5-day training on how to find your focus. It's super easy because all you got to do is you sign up, and I'm going to deliver a lesson to your inbox every day. The course is all about helping you hone in on what lights you up so that you can focus on one thing at a time and start making progress towards your dream. It's super easy to sign up. You can go to thefierceframework.myflowdesk.com/focus. I know it's kind of long. Thefierceframework.myflowdesk, that's my FLO desk.com/focus. I've also got the link in the show notes, or you can always DM me at the Fierce Framework and I'll hook you up. And I also love how you talked about you're becoming that person. And I think that that's so huge. And I think it ties back to why a lot of us don't start, because we see where we want to go. Kind of like you were saying, right? You're like behind a screen, like what? And you're like, I'm not that girl.
Mhm.
And maybe you weren't that person when you
Mhm.
started.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of us don't give credit to is you become that person through the process as you're doing the things. Like when you're a level 1 player, you're a level 1 player. Like you're not a level 5 player. But as you work through level 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, lo and fucking behold, you are her now. Like
Yes.
you became her.
I have arrived at level 5.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So I would love to kind of turn it and focus in on like how's that played out in your life? Like in your business, I'm sure there's things that like you thought were going to go one way and ended up going somewhere else, or like I want to talk more about just in general on the podcast, like you we have this idea that you're supposed to have a plan and like everything figured out. And I think that's why we're so worried about failure, is because there's this idea that there's already a path that's like correct and we just need to know what it is, instead of understanding that like you're creating the path as you go. And so it's really like on my heart to normalize like how regular pivoting and changing and like is, and like how integral that is just to being a business owner. Would you be willing to share like some of the things that like how that's played out for you?
Oh yeah.
She's like, where do I start?
I mean, yeah,
The
like
audience, it's so normal.
it so is, and I feel like it can be a super lonely place. So first I want
Mm.
to say that if you are starting a business or you're a business owner, I'll give you an example for me. Like people would always talk about, oh, get a group and like have, like like a sisterhood or like a pod or people that you meet with, so you cannot be alone, because it is a super lonely place when you're by yourself.
Mm,
You're like, am I
yeah.
even what
Yeah.
what am I even doing? Is this working? Am I just flinging stuff out there? And it can become frustrating, because I think as a societal norm, we see, because this is how it is presented to us, we see all the successes, we see all the fast ways, we see all the fast tracks. People say, yes, I can get you there faster, which some may work and some may not, but in our brains we're now like, oh, this can happen fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Negative ghostwriter. That is not the thing. Okay, you have to back it up and start again. We're not comparing somebody's level 1 to somebody's level 5. Okay, everybody had
Yeah.
to start at level 1, and I'm sure their level 1 was very similar to what everyone else's level 1 is. So
Mm,
for me to grasp that in the beginning, I was all on the, oh, this is going to happen fast. I'm going to be able to
mm,
quit my mainstream job and just be like do working it, fast. I
mm,
found out very quickly that was not the case. And they talk about pivoting. It was like, we're going to do this. Okay, well, let's pivot a little bit here, and then let's pivot a little bit there. I think the biggest hurdle is to just do the thing. Like,
mm,
don't make it perfect. Don't make, I have to have everything set up in place. No, you don't. No, you don't. You just have to start. You have to start. That's how you gain information back to see if this is the way that you're going to go. Let me try this. Let me try this tool that I can share with everybody to see if it helps. And if people are like, yes, I want the tool, I want the tool. Now you
mm,
know this is the tool that
mm,
they want. And then you can go to the next step, right? Like it's baby steps. And mentally for me, I had to flip the script to be the long game. I wanted it to be the
mm.
short, fast game, because to
Yeah.
me, perceptual, like looking out, I'm like, everybody else is going fast and look at all this.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
only seeing the super success stories. I'm not seeing everybody's journey here. And what was I doing? Freaking comparing myself to somebody who's on level 10. Really? What am
Right.
I doing?
Right.
So back it up to level 1 and
Yeah.
figuring out what works for you, but just having those little steps that you take to figure out if it's working, and you're getting
Mm,
information back. Because that's when you're
mm.
winning, is when you're getting information. If you're not trying anything or doing anything and you're not getting information, how are you supposed to know where you're going?
That's when you're winning, is when you're getting information. I love that. You can win at any time.
And you could be helping that one person by not, right? By not putting out your tool, or like for me, not doing a live Q&A or webinar that I'm going to start doing,
Yes, you
like
are.
I could actually help people that just have a couple of questions where like, I don't know, what is leaning in?
Mm.
What is that? They could ask me and then I can explain it. And then they're like, now I get it. And then
Yeah.
I can help somebody, like it's like a ripple effect.
Yes.
I help somebody, they do something, it happens to them that they loved, and then now they can help somebody else. That's what I want to
Mhm.
start. I want to
Yeah.
start that
Yeah.
by doing those things. So do you try something? And if it doesn't work, fine. And then if you try something else and it does work, this is the path. It's the same thing as like what actually lights you up. Like in the beginning of opening my business, if you told me that I was going to be a podcast host 3 years after opening my business, I would have told you you're bananas crazy. I'm not doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm like, oh, I paid attention to how excited I got. And then when I started doing it and interviewing people, I was like, this is my jam. I love this stuff. This is so
Yeah.
great. All the amazing people you can meet, what you can talk about, conversations, all that. And then guess what? 3 years down the line, now I have this amazing freaking sisterhood group that I meet with every week, every single week, and we all meet. That right there is like a magical place that you can get to as a business owner, of getting support like that is going to help
Mhm.
you so much. Because how many
Mm.
times do you can go to that group and just be like, listen, I'm not feeling this, or what's working for you guys, or let's, like, that's X amount of brains coming together to help you and them
Yeah.
get their business going in the right direction. And
Yeah.
as a business owner, you have highs and lows, just like life, right? You have highs and lows. And when you have those lows, you have these plans or people that you can be like, hey, I'm not feeling it because this is why. And a lot of times, at least in my group, pull you right out of that. Like, okay, come on, get out, come on, let's go. Pull you right out, and then you're like, after you meet with them, you're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go do this thing over here, because you're all
Truly.
jazzed about it. When you went into the meeting and you're like, man, I don't want to do the thing, I don't like this anymore, and then you come out and you're like, well, sorry, that was a temporary, no,
Like,
no,
turns
reset.
out I
We're
was letting myself
reset.
have a tantrum. we're
Yeah.
good.
Yes. Yes. So, I mean, I think my biggest thing is be okay with starting where you are. And it's
Mm,
okay because you're not going to know what's going to work for you until you try it. So try it.
yeah,
See how it goes. Now, when I say try, I don't mean try for 2 days and then you're like, oh, that didn't work. No, that's not what I'm saying.
right.
And you have to try it for a little while. You have to try it for a little while. See how many people interact with that thing. Get to
Hmm.
a certain number of people that interact with it because it's all about, they say it's all about the data, really. Like if people are looking at, you have to know people are looking at your stuff to know that it's working.
Right.
You can't just put stuff out there, put yourself out there, and you don't know the number of people that are actively looking at it. And then pivot and change when you don't know because you could have amazing shit that you are
Mm,
putting out there that can actively help all these people, but if 5 people are seeing it, how are you going to, why would you pivot when you don't know? If you have like 100 people
mm,
seeing it and 75 of these people want it, but
mm.
if you didn't give it to 100 and you changed at 5, so it's like give it some time. Check yourself. It doesn't have to be fast. It can be slow, but I feel like it's slow in the beginning because you're like, when you're like learning and building something with anything, whether it's, I mean, we can go even, I just did Legos with my kiddo like a couple weeks ago and I remember
Love it.
starting this and I was like, oh my gosh, these pieces are so small. I don't even know. And I'm looking at the directions and then you're like
Yeah.
second guessing yourself and you're like,
Are you sure these are for
go
kids?
there. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, can I do it? It's that's how I think of it as business is like you question yourself, you check the directions, am I doing that? You're like back and forth. But then when you start building the thing and it's like halfway built, now all of a sudden you're moving faster and you're like, I got this, I know the pieces and where they go, blah, blah. It's the same,
Mm,
kind of the same thing with businesses. You're kind of unsure,
hmm.
you're questioning it, you're going back and forth. And I feel like what was pivotal for me was having my people that I met with, networking myself. I
Mm,
was one of those people in the beginning where I was like networking. I didn't understand because I didn't know. I didn't know.
right.
Networking, I'm like, how is that reaching my client? Well, now I know differently, but in the beginning, I'm like, am I spending my time networking or spending my time finding my client? Well, you do both. You
Yeah.
do both, and how I was even advertising, putting myself out there. I was such a toddler. I was like, I am not going to be on social media all the time, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Am I on social media all the time? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, had to work through that one. So I feel like there's little things that you just have to work through, but that's totally normal.
Yeah.
It's totally normal because you're learning as you go. I mean, you're building this thing. It's not just you're gonna walk in just because you like name it and all the things you walk in and it's like, here it is. I have arrived.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, to start your steps. Yes.
To start.
Yeah. And it's totally fine. It's totally fine. We put more pressure on ourselves, I think. And we get lost
Yeah.
in expectations of where it should be and we're shoulding all over ourselves when
Mm,
because we get stuck in that comparison. I want to be here. I want to be here. Okay, yeah, but you're here. And so what can we do here that's going to move you
truly.
the fastest, through to get there? Because you'll
Yeah.
eventually get there because you're taking the steps to get there.
Exactly. As long as you don't stop taking those steps, you're gonna get somewhere. I
Mhm.
also love the reminder too that like it often takes more time than we realize. So yes, you can pivot, you can quit certain things and try something else, but like make sure you're giving yourself time
Mhm.
because truly like I don't think we see the process
Mhm.
enough, and so we have this idea that things happen overnight or that things are supposed to happen quickly, and it's like give yourself a chance. And I love how you talked about like when you're beginning at anything like it takes time, and like you have to like get acclimated and you have to build those skills, you have to become her, like get to the next level, and all of that takes time.
Mhm.
And I just think that's so powerful.
When you say give yourself time, I'm going to elaborate a little bit on that. So,
I
when
love
you
it.
give yourself time in your business, yes, okay. But also remember, you need to have boundaries when you're starting a business because if you
Mm,
start your business working from the sun up to sundown, guess what you're going to be doing in 5 years? The same thing. And then you're going to be upset because you don't have time for yourself. And then you're going to be
right.
upset because you don't have time for your family. Well, you started the habit early. So
Yeah.
when you're starting out, have those boundaries up to start that way to have the time for yourself,
Good.
whether you even have to schedule it in there or not, it needs
Yeah.
to happen. And with your family, like for me, Since the beginning, I have hours that I work and I have them listed, and I do not answer an email. I do not answer anything. Like I don't do anything. I don't go on and like interact with people or whatever, not in those hours, because when I'm off, I'm with my kids.
I love it.
That makes me feel better about also doing it.
Yeah.
And if I have lists and things that I need to do, we have these cool things called cell phones. You can literally do a voice memo. I need to do, like when you're thinking of, like, let's say you're driving to the grocery store and you're like, crap, I got to do the thing for my business. Great. I need to add a voice note, a voice memo, blah, blah, blah. And you say it into your phone. And then at 9 a.m. or whenever you start the next day, you listen to your voice memo and then you can get back to business.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to do it right then, because I'm telling you right now, if you do it at 5 p.m. the night before when you're with your family, or you wait till 9 a.m., guess what? What's going to happen in there? Are you going to make $5,000 from that one thing? No, it can wait till
Probably
9.
not.
It's totally fine. Because if you're going to make money off of it, you're going to make money off of it at 9 a.m. also. It's not going to make a difference if it's at 5 p.m. or 9 a.m. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. And like setting it up how you want it to be from the beginning. Super powerful. I love it. I feel like I could talk to you all day, Shauna. So thank you so much for
Same,
being
same.
on.
Yeah.
I don't want to take your entire life, so I guess I'll let you go. But I do, before we close, there's a couple things I want to ask. And one of the things I love asking is like, what, and I feel like you've already shared so many gems. So if you have anything else, what is a piece of advice that you would give someone who like wants to do something, who wants to dip a toe in, but they feel like that's just not for me, or like I'm just not that girl?
I think that taking the time and questioning it, like, why isn't that for me? Figure out why isn't it for you. And when you're saying you're just not that girl, if you know your reason, it's not for you. So then what is for you, right? Being open to that, um I think would be, it's all in the questions that you ask yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can ask you can ask I'm going to use another analogy. You can
Yeah.
ask for a cheeseburger, right? You can ask for a cheeseburger and you'll get a cheeseburger, but what if you don't like pickles or onions? But you didn't specify that. You didn't say no pickles or no onions, right? Or
Mhm.
I want a cheeseburger with cheese and ketchup, and then you say the thing. That is being more specific. So if you can think of your question, if it's generalized, you're going to get something generalized as like an answer. You specify your question, you're going to, lift the fog and see more specificity in your answer, right? So
Mhm.
if it's not for you, why? Why is this not for me? Why is this isn't fitting for me? And then why again? You get your why. Okay, why is that? And then see, go a little bit deeper. Every time you ask yourself why, you're uncovering something else, right?
Mhm.
And then if it is or not, because sometimes it might be just be like, oh, I'm too scared to do that.
Mhm.
And that might not be the thing. So that's why you need to go a little bit deeper and ask yourself why again. Same with, well, what is for me?
Yeah.
You know, why? Why do you like that? Why do you want to do that? Because you can uncover more things that can support you in your no or your yes
Yeah.
with that.
That's so good. Thank you so much. This was amazing. I love talking to you.
I love talking to you too.
To wrap up, can you tell us about where we can find you?
Yeah, the best place that has all of the connections with social media and my podcast and who I am and all that jazz and how I help is on my website, which is www.igniteddecisions.com.
Perfect. I'll link it in the show notes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Shauna. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I love
Of
talking with
course.
you.
She's incredible, right? I hope you loved that episode with Shauna B. And she shared so many gems, and I had such a great time interviewing her. I hope that you felt the same way listening to it. I'll include her links in the show notes in the description here, so you can go check her out, follow her on social media, check out her podcast, check out her upcoming workshops and Q&A sessions. Her website is igniteddecisions.com, but I'll link everything in the show notes as well. Until next time, keep becoming fierce.